Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 2025 NFL playoff predictions. I got my bracket here in front of me on my computer so that I don't fuck up the bracket like I did for baseball. So I nothing's wrong, and yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Let's start off with the AFC wildcard team. So first game we got is the four-seeded Texans hosting the five-seeded Chargers on Saturday, and um, we have the Texans who've had a bit of a drop off from last year. Um, their offense has been they started out good, but then Stephon Diggs got hurt, and then the big one, Tank Dell, got hurt, and I think that's really affected how CJ is performing. Defense has been solid. Joe Mixon has been amazing. Nico, when healthy, has been amazing. He also got hurt. So all three of their wide receivers um, were injured this year, but two of them were season ending. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL, and then Tank Dell had that awful injury against the Chiefs. But yeah, they have Nico. They have their defense. Derek Stingley's amazing. Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter have been a fearsome demolishing crew on that pass rush. Kalen Bullock's been a ball hawk in his rookie year, and last year's been even good as well. But I I think the Chargers are going to overpower them. I think the Chargers will win this game. They've been playing great. Justin Herbert's been had a great year. J.K. Dobbins has had an amazing year. Um, Lad McConkey in his rookie season has been amazing. Quentin Johnson's been solid too. Offensive line's been good for the Chargers. Way better than Houston's offensive line, which could be another reason why CJ isn't performing like he did last year. And then the defense, yeah, it's been solid. Derwin James has been easily the best player on the Chargers defense, and I think it's going to be a defensive game, like a low-scoring game. But I think the Chargers are going to pull it out at the end of the day, and I think they're going to pull it away in like the fourth quarter because I think Houston's going to not perform as well, and they're going to get knocked out. So yeah, I have the Chargers moving on. Next, we got the Ravens and the Steelers. We got Pittsburgh, who is also not playing great as well, kind of like the Texans. They're slumping at the worst time. Um, Russ had a good start, but now he's kind of fallen back to where he was the first year with Denver. Um, Najee had a good year. George Pickens, when healthy, was really good. Mike Williams has been disappointing. He's made a couple of few catches, one that won him a game against the Commanders, but besides that, he's really been disappointing. Fryermuth has been solid. Their offensive line, the middle part of the offensive line has been good, but the blind side blockers, like the left tackle and right tackle, could be better. Zach Frazier has been really good as a rookie. And then defensive line, TJ Watt's been amazing. Highsmith's been good when healthy. Cam Hayward's been amazing as well. But they've also been ravaged by injuries in their secondary. And the Ravens, we all know how scary that offense is with Lamar and Derrick Henry at the rushing attack. Zay Flowers, who hopefully will be good for Saturday's game. But if he's not, it's fine. They have Mark Andrews. They have Isaiah Likely, and Rashad Bateman's been good too. So, and then their defense is just stacked. Matabike, Marlon Humphrey has been good. Both of them. Who else is on the Ravens? Oh, Kyle Van Noy has been amazing this year. Having the best season of his career at like, what, 32, 33. Um, he's been amazing. Roquan Smith, guys like that. So I think this is going to be a blowout in Baltimore's favor. And yeah, the Steelers will have another first round exit. So I have the Ravens moving on to the AFC divisional round. And we got the last game, which I think will be the most entertaining game from the AFC wild card. It's the Denver Broncos taking on the Bills. And man, the Broncos, who would have thought they'd make the playoffs, huh? Who would have thought? Buffalo, we all knew was going to be there. Um, well, actually, we didn't. We thought the Bill. A lot of people thought the Bills were going to fall off with Stephon Diggs leaving and Gabe Davis leaving and a lot of guys leaving. I didn't. I thought they were going to win the division the whole time. I did not expect the Broncos to be here. But I'm happy for it. I'm happy for Denver. They're finally back after nearly a decade outside of playoff contention. But they rebuilt. Bo Nix is good. Bo Nix has been really good his rookie year. Cortland Sutton's been amazing. They have a three-headed rushing duo between Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Audric Estime. Offensive line's been good. Garrett Bowles has been amazing. Quinn Miners has been amazing. Both of them should have made the Pro Bowl, but they didn't. So, all-pro team, hopefully. But then the defense, they have so many. The Broncos have so many playmakers on that defense. And I'm pretty sure only one of them is a first-round pick, and that was PS2, who, in my opinion, this year is my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, you got PS2 in the secondary, along with Riley Moss, who's been really good. But still working his way back from an injury. He's been kind of mid ever since he got hurt. T. Higgins, he got picked on by T. Higgins and Joe Burrow in that Bengals game. P.J. Locke and Brandon Jones have been an amazing safety duo back there. And then just the pass rush has been amazing. They had 60 sacks on the year, which leads the whole NFL. It's a record, franchise record for them, more than the Super Bowl year back in 2015. And they have four main guys who get to the quarterback. They have Nick Benito, who's the big one. He's the best pass rusher on the team. Jonathan Cooper is amazing. Zach Allen coming at you from the defensive tackle, and John Franklin Myers, who they traded for earlier this offseason from the Jets. And that Alex Singleton, their best linebacker, went down with an injury, but Cody Barton's been fine as a replacement. So, yeah, the Broncos, they're loaded. I can see them beating the Bills. I think this is going to be a really close game. The Bills, obviously, Josh Allen's amazing. James Cook is amazing. Khalil Shakir is going to be hard to stop. Amari Cooper, he's been quiet ever since he got traded to Buffalo. Had a really quiet year, but he can be hard to stop too, although I think Khalil Shakir is going to be the main person because he's going to be lined up in the slot. He's going to get a lot of catches. Also, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox are a really good duo. And also, the Bills' defense, if they can get their guys back on the secondary, because I know Douglas and DeMar Hamlin were hurt, then they can make it a really challenging day for the Broncos. But Ed Oliver and Von Miller on the pass rush, along with Greg Rousseau. Matt Milano's back. Like, this is going to be a defensive game. Like, it's going to be who has the best defense. Or I shouldn't say that, whose offense can score more points against these two really good defenses. And I think this is going to come down to the wire between Buffalo and Denver. But this is the Broncos' first year in a rebuild, and they're already in the playoffs. They're way ahead of schedule. They're new to the playoffs. Everyone on that team is new to the playoffs, besides a few people. But and I think because of their youngness and inexperiencedness, although I could be wrong, I think the Bills are going to win barely. I think the Broncos will make the fight. So the AFC divisional round will be LA going to KC and Baltimore heading to Buffalo. But now we got to go to the NFC wild card. We'll start off with Eagles-Packers. The Packers are really banged up right now, and I think that's what's going to do them in. I have Philly beaten down on Green Bay in the link. But it could be close if Jalen Hurts doesn't play. But I believe he was a full participant in practice yesterday, which I'm recording this on Thursday the 9th. So he practiced yesterday the 8th. I think he was full, so I think he'll be good to go. And yeah, if he's good to go, they have Saquon still. They have AJ Brown. They have Devontae, the Slim Reaper, and yeah, I think Philly should beat down on Green Bay. So yeah, Philly moves on. Next, we got Tampa Bay and Washington on Sunday night, and this is going to be the best playoff game of the entire weekend. Uh, the Commanders, their offense is very fun to watch. Jaden Daniels has been electric. Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson have been really good as a running back duo. Scary Terry, having the best season of his career. Um, Zach Ertz has even been good. Um, and then they have their defense, which has been solid. Bobby Wagner in the middle, Deron Payne on the line, along with Jonathan Allen. Um, then they got guys with Frankie Lulu as a linebacker. He's been good. Marshawn Lattimore is going to go up against Mike Evans. That's must-see TV whenever they face each other. And normally, Marshawn Lattimore gets the better of Mike Evans, but I don't know. I just have a feeling it's the playoffs. Mike Evans has been really hot ever since he came back from injury. Like, he has been red hot. He's having amazing games. Like, I think he's going to be tough to stop. Tampa, they obviously lost Chris Godwin, but they still have Baker's been playing solid. Or I shouldn't say solid, but really good. Bucky Irving's been amazing as a rookie. They lost Godwin, but they still have Mike Evans. And that defense, man, I think that's gonna be tough to stop. I don't know if Winfield's hurt for them, but they have Vita Vea as a defensive tackle. They have who else? I'm forgetting who's a lot of the guys who are on Tampa's defense. Jabel Dean in the secondary. I think they have Joe Tryon at linebacker, but he also pass rushes. And yeah, I'm forgetting a lot of guys on Tampa's defense right now, but I think it's gonna be an offensive shootout. And I think also, I think Washington could easily win this game, but I have Tampa winning barely, because something with Baker Mayfield, man. I just have a feeling something with Baker Mayfield in the wild card. I've seen this twice before. I think he's going to do it again. He pops off in the wild card round. I believe both times he's been in the wild card game, which was 2020 against Pittsburgh when he was still at Cleveland, and then last year against Philly, he had amazing games. So I think that's going to happen again, and wild card Baker Mayfield is going to lead Tampa Bay to a win and send them to the link in the divisional round. And then the last game of the wild card round, we got the Rams taking on the Vikings, and the Rams, their offense is also really good. Kyren, Puka, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. Those are going to be the main guys. Tyler Higbee even could get into the action. But obviously we know Minnesota has a very stingy defense with guys like Van Ginkel and Grenard on the defensive line. Stephon Gilmore in the secondary along with the Hitman and Josh Metellus. They had like Blake Cashman also as the leader of that defense. Like, those guys alone can change a game and go into Minnesota's favor. But the Rams, they got Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, in my opinion, the top two for defensive rookie of the year voting. Well, them and Quinyon Mitchell. So they're both in the top three along with Q. But they got Witherspoon in the secondary along with Kobe Durant. Byron Young on the defensive line along with Connect. I think that's how you say his name. Forget his first name, but yeah. I just have a feeling that the Rams offense is going to be red hot in this game, especially since they're going to be at home. At least we think, with all the wildfire stuff going on. I think they'll be able to play in SoFi on Monday night. If not, they'll be heading to Arizona. But I still think a lot of Rams fans will show up in Arizona because Arizona is very far away from Minnesota, as everyone knows. But I think the crowd and their offense is going to be fired up, and I think they're going to really beat down on the Vikings. So I have the Rams winning and moving on to face Detroit in the NFC divisional round. So the divisional round matchups, we'll start with the NFC. It's a rematch. It's LA going back to Detroit for the second straight year, only this time it's in the divisional round instead of the wild card round. And then we got Tampa going to the Link. But let's start with Rams-Lions. The Rams were a few plays away from beating the Lions last year in the wild card round in what was a really, really good playoff game. Obviously Detroit's defense is really depleted by injury. They really don't have many people left. They still have Zadarius Smith. They have Amik Robertson, who had a hell of a night against Justin Jefferson in that crucial Sunday night game last week. But besides them, they have a lot of injuries. Alex Anzalone came back, but I think Detroit's going to get some people back for the playoffs. They'll have David Montgomery for this game on the offense. The Sonic and Knuckles, Jahmyr Gibbs racing, and David Montgomery. They still have Goff. They still have Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Sam Laporta. So I think the Lions, their offense will be locked in. But I also think the Rams will be locked in on offense too. And also on defense. I think Jared Verse and Braden Fisk are going to have big playoff performances. I think they're going to be ready for their moment. And I think those two rookies are going to get to Jared Goff a lot. I still think the Lions are going to put up a good offensive performance, but I think the Rams will watch a lot of that film from that wild card game if they play Detroit. This is just a hypothetical situation here. And I think they're going to see what they did wrong. I think they're going to improve on that. And I actually have, if this happens, the Rams taking out the Lions in the divisional round. And the Lions going one and done. And I think it's just because Detroit's defense has been so depleted by injury. McNeil's out for the year. Hutchinson is most likely out for the year, unless Detroit makes the Super Bowl. Carlton Davis is hurt. They have a bunch of starters out. Barnes. The Lions still have Jack Campbell. He's fine. He's been fine the whole year. But mainly on that defensive line is where I'm looking at them. And I know they did well against the Vikings. I know they did well against Sam Darnold. I think their secondary is going to be solid for the Lions, but that defensive line not really getting to Sam Darnold has me worried for the Lions, especially with how much rest they're getting. So I think the Rams are going to be so fired up from that Vikings game if they win it. And I think they're going to show out and beat the Lions in the offensive shootout. So yeah, I have the Lions losing to the Rams, and the Rams going to the NFC Championship game where they'll be going to either Philly or Tampa Bay. So you got the Eagles, you got the Buccaneers. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, Slim Reaper, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and then their amazing offensive line, which is why Saquon hit 2K this year and almost got the record. It's going up against Tampa Bay's defense, which will have Vita Vea, maybe Antoine Winfield if he's not hurt for the year. I don't know if he's out for the year. Jamel Dean, Levante David, who's always rock solid for them. Joe Tryon, Cansey, guys like that. And then you got Tampa's offense, which is Baker, Mike Evans, McMillan, Bucky and Rachaad White, and then Cade Otton at the tight end. Their offensive line, which has Tristan Wirfs, who is really good, but the Eagles have obviously pretty much everybody on that offensive line is a superstar. Mailata, Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson. I think I'm forgetting somebody, but oh well. And then you got Philly's defensive pressure, which is no joke. Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter, um, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship. Like, they have so many really good studs. This Eagles team is really complete. I'm getting 2022 vibes from them when they made the Super Bowl, but I'm also getting 2017 vibes. With Jalen Hurts being hurt right now. But I think he'll be back for this game as long as he doesn't get hurt against Green Bay. And I think with the Philly crowd, it's going to really get into Tampa Bay's heads. I think Baker's going to have a really rough day. He's going to throw a couple picks, I think. Oh, I forgot about Zach Vaughn. Zach Vaughn, too, for Philly has been amazing. Former Badger. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a rough day for Tampa in the Link, and Philly will go on to host the NFC Championship game against the Rams. So now we go to the AFC side. We got AFC West divisional matchup. We got the Chiefs hosting the Chargers. The Chiefs are going to have like 20 days of rest for most of their starters before this game, in between 2 weeks ago's game against, who did the Chiefs play? Was it Pittsburgh on Christmas? I'm pretty sure it was Pittsburgh on Christmas. And then from that game to now to the divisional round, which will be, so that's going to be like almost a month of the Chiefs being off. At least some of their starters. We all know who the Chiefs have. They have Mahomes, they have Kelsey, they have Pacheco, I think. If not, they'll have Kareem Hunt. And then they got Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice is out for the year. Who's that other receiver? Oh, D-Hop. Forgot about D-Hop. He's going to play a crucial role for the Chiefs, I think, in this playoff run. At least in this game, for sure. And so I think he's going to be targeted a lot by Asante Samuel and Derwin James. We obviously know what the Chargers' offense is, and it's going to be a chess match if these two match up against each other. Andy Reid and John Harbaugh, two really, really good two really good coaches with a ton of experience in big games. But the difference is the Chiefs have that championship experience. Some of the Chargers players have been in the playoffs. They made it in 2022 against the Jags, where we obviously know what happened in that game for LA. They had a 27-0 lead, and then we all know how that went. I think because it's going to come down to the players, and I think the Chiefs' championship experience, with them being there, and with all their guys being back, mostly, I think they're going to win this game because of that. I think the Chargers will keep it close. It's a divisional game. They're always close. The Chiefs, I think, are going to sweep them. They played them twice already. Both games were close. Kansas City won both, barely. And I think this one will be no different. I think Kansas City moves on to the AFC Championship game. But who will they face? Ravens or the Bills? If this happens, whoever wins this game is probably going to be MVP, because the two main MVP contenders in the AFC, because, we got Saquon and Jared Goff out in the NFC. Two main contenders are Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And Baltimore's going into Buffalo for the second time ever in the AFC divisional round. And the last time was back in 2020 when the Bills beat the Ravens to move on to the AFC Championship game. So, obviously the Ravens, they have an elite offense, elite defense, an elite team, a really complete team. I think the most complete team in the AFC, them or Kansas City. And you got Philly in the NFC. I don't know. Those are my three main contenders for the Super Bowl. Buffalo, they have a really good offense. Like, They also have a really good team, but I don't know. The last time the Bills and Ravens played each other, albeit it was in Baltimore, the Ravens kicked the Bills' ass, and I think that's going to happen again. I think Baltimore is going to beat down on Buffalo in Buffalo's house and move on to the AFC Championship game to go to Kansas City. So it's going to be the same AFC Championship game from last year, although it's not going to be in Baltimore this time. It's going to be Kansas City. And then on the NFC side, you got LA and Philly. So, AFC Championship game, Chiefs hosting the Ravens. You know, the Chiefs and the Ravens both really good teams. You got Mahomes, Kelsey, D-Hop. Those are the main guys on offense with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. And then they have a really solid offensive line, probably the second best offensive line in the playoffs behind Philly, with Baltimore being a close third. You know, you got guys like Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney. Those guys have been really rock solid for Kansas City on the offensive line. And then you got the defense. And the Chiefs have been even better on their defense and they traded away L'Jarius Sneed, who was their best corner. But Trent McDuffie's also really solid, and he's been fine. He's gotten even better, actually, Trent McDuffie. And then you got guys like Brian Cook and what's his name? Hicks, who's been good. And then Jalen Watson's coming back from injury, so that'll be really good for them. And then you got guys like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal at the linebacker spots. And then you got Drew Tranquill too. I forgot about him. And then on the pass rush, it's Carl Loftus coming on the edge and Chris Jones coming up the middle. So, and also the Chiefs like the blitz a lot, but I think Baltimore will see that. I think they'll play that better. You know, they're going to run a lot. Obviously, Kansas City beat Baltimore by a toe in the first game of the year, back all the way back in September. So I think it's going to be really close again. You know, the Ravens, Lamar, Derrick Henry, and then their offensive line, which has Roger Rosengarten, Tyler Linderbaum. There's other guys. So I'm just forgetting them right now. It's hard to know offensive linemen. And then obviously they have a really good defense too. And the Ravens took a big hit on their defense, you know, as after Patrick Queen went to the rival Steelers. But Roquan's been fine by himself, basically. And Baltimore, the reason why they lost the AFC Championship last year was because they barely ran the ball, Baltimore. They're going to run the ball a lot. And I think it's going to, unlike in September, I think the Ravens are going to figure out what they did wrong. And I think they're going to really run the ball on Kansas City. They're going to run it down their throat. And it's going to be a really close game, but I think Baltimore is going to the bowl. I have Baltimore beating Kansas City on the road and going to the bowl. So Baltimore's in for the AFC. I don't know. Both of those teams are really good. They're really, really complete teams. The best two teams in the AFC easily, with Buffalo a close third. I don't know. I just think it's going to be the Ravens' year to make it to the bowl. And then on the NFC side, I think this is where the Rams' insane playoff run is going to end, because Philly really took down LA in SoFi earlier this year. And with it being in the link, I think the Rams are going to be in trouble, especially with Philly's amazing offense and then their amazing defense. Like, Philly's the most complete. I'll say this, Philly's the most complete team in the NFC, and I think this is not going to be a contest either. I think Philly's going to really demolish some people in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think the Eagles are going to the bowl. So, the Super Bowl, Baltimore for the AFC, Philly for the NFC. Two of the most complete teams in these playoffs. this should be a really elite matchup. We had this game back in Baltimore, and the Eagles barely won over Baltimore, even though I barely watched that game because of stuff going on with my family. But from what I heard, Philly, the final score, it wasn't as close as the final score indicated. So I think it will be close. Philly and Baltimore, they're really complete teams. They have a lot of studs all over the board. The two best running backs in the NFC, or I mean, in the NFC, in the NFL, are going up against each other. I think that's going to be a main reason. Who can stop who's running back? Saquon or the King? But I think both of them, they're going to focus on Saquon and the King so much that's going to be a passing game for offenses. And the Eagles have two superstar wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Slim Reaper, while the Ravens have two really good tight ends and a superstar wide receiver, Zay Flowers, who would be back for that game, with Rashad Bateman, who's also really solid. But I think with the defenses, they're really going to focus in on the running game for both sides. I think it'll still be a defensive game. I still think it'll be like low 20s, high teens scoring. But I honestly think that the Slim Reaper, Devonta Smith, will be a main reason why the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Throughout the playoffs, he had a quiet season, but I think he's going to break out in the playoffs. He's going to show why the Phillies drafted him in the first round in 2021 and break out of A.J. Brown's shadow. I think he's going to be, because remember the championship run where he won the Heisman at Alabama? He really broke out. Like, he was in the shadows in Alabama until that season. He really broke out. And sure, Jalen Waddle was hurt that year for Alabama, but Devonta Smith, I think, is way better than Jalen Waddle in the NFL. But I think Devonta Smith is going to play a main role in the Super Bowl. The superstars on both sides will all have their moments, I think. But I think Jalen Hurts to Devonta Smith will win the Eagles the Super Bowl. And Philly this year is Philly's year, in my opinion. So I got the Eagles going all the way. It'll be their second ever Super Bowl, first since 2017. Baltimore barely loses. It'll be Lamar's first Super Bowl. It'll be Jalen Hurts' second. And yeah, I think it'd be a really fun game if the Ravens and Eagles ended up being in the Super Bowl. So yeah, my pick for the Super Bowl is Philly. The Philadelphia Eagles will win it, in my opinion. And yeah, let's see how it goes. I can't wait to watch the playoffs. I can't wait to see if I'm right or wrong. I hope I'm right. I wouldn't mind the Eagles and Ravens being in the bowl. I wouldn't mind either team winning it anyway. But yeah, we'll see. See you then. See if Philly does it. And yeah, it's playoff time in the NFL. See how it goes. See y'all later. RV out. Peace. Thank you for watching.